Money is an intimidating topic for a lot of people. Many people believe that managing their finances requires a lot of technical knowledge and that technical knowledge is too difficult for them to learn. I am here to tell you that is not true. You do not need a degree in finance to manage your money. In fact, there are only 6 concepts you need to learn to be great with managing money. Those are tracking where your money is going, building a strong emergency fund, paying down debt, adopting a simple investment strategy, creating a goals-based budget, and pulling the 2 levers of financial independence. In this video, I'm going to review all 6 of these concepts so that you have all of the technical knowledge that you need to be successful with money. So the first concept you need is to learn how to track your spending and learn where your money is going. Tracking your spending is not as complicated as many people believe it to be. All you need to do is review your financial records like bank statements and credit card statements and tally up your monthly savings into a few different categories. I break all of my spending down into one of 3 categories. The big 3, which is all essential spending on housing, transportation, and food. Values, which is any money you spend on things that make you happy. And stuff is any non-essential spending that doesn't really provide any value to your life. Tracking your spending is a lot of work though, which is why most people simply don't do it. Herein lies the problem. Managing money is both challenging and straightforward, which is why the right mindset is often more important than technical knowledge. So to help you track your spending, I'm actually going to show you how I do it using a custom-built expense tracker that I have provided folks who are in the 30-day money challenge. And if you want to join the 30-day money challenge, it's free and the link is in the description of the video. So this is the expense tracker that I give to those in the money challenge. So here is a copy of the expense tracker. It's really quite simple how to use it. You simply just enter what you spent, you can put a little description of it, and whether it was the big 3 values or stuff. And all you have to really do is hit this little blue button here and you can do that and enter each expense as you go. What's really cool then is that you get this little pie chart when you're done that tells you how much of your money is going to the big 3, your essential spending, values, and just stuff. It'll also tell you your total amount here in dollars. So in this example here, spending $1,750 on the big 3. And the best thing about this expense tracker is it actually has a tab where you enter your income, how much you get paid, and how many hours per week that you work. And then it actually takes that information and tells you how many hours that you had to work to pay for each expense in your life. So, for example, to pay for the $1,000 of rent, in this example, you'd have to work 43 hours to be able to pay your rent. And then it tallies that same number up here for your total spending on big 3 values and stuff. So in this example, we had to spend 75 hours to pay for our big 3 spending of transportation, housing, and food. We had to work nearly 11 hours to pay for the things that we value, and we had to work 17 hours to pay for just stuff. And that really helps you to get a sense of your spending in terms of not only the dollars, but how much time you're giving up for the things that you buy. When people think about managing money, they typically think of investing or paying down debt or really complicated issues. And you might be surprised to learn that the first thing you need to do once you started tracking where your money is going is to build an emergency fund of cash savings. Even if you have a pile of debt that you are eager to pay off, that needs to take a backseat until you build up an adequate emergency fund. Your goal is not simply to get out of debt as quickly as possible. Your goal is to pay off your debt and never fall back into debt again. So to ensure you don't fall back into debt, you need some financial stability, which means having some cash set aside in case of a financial emergency. So life is going to pull the rug out from under you at some point. The problem is we don't know when that is. So what happens if you have an unexpected cost come up and you don't have any cash on hand? You'll need to borrow money and go back into debt. And if there's one thing that is worse than living in debt, It's getting out of debt and experiencing what that freedom feels like, only to fall back into debt again. So to avoid that fate, we need to have cash on hand. So the next question is, how much do I need in an emergency fund? And most financial experts recommend having 3 to 6 months worth of basic living expenses in your emergency fund. While that is a helpful rule of thumb, the size of your emergency fund will be dependent on your risk preferences and your personal circumstances, including your job security. The less secure you feel about your job, the more critical an emergency fund becomes. The third concept you need to learn is paying off debt. So there are 2 tried and true strategies that anyone struggling with debt needs to know: the snowball method and the avalanche method. The snowball method prioritizes paying off your loans with the smallest outstanding balance first. It is a 4-step process. Step 1 is to list your debts from the smallest balance to the largest. Step 2 is to make minimum payments on all of your debts, except for that with the smallest balance. The third step is to pay as much as possible on your smallest debt while making the minimum payments on all of the other loans until you have that loan with the smallest balance completely paid off. And step 4 is to repeat that process until all of your debts are paid in full. The avalanche method prioritizes paying off your loans with the highest interest rate first. It is also a 4-step process. Step 1 is to list all of your debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. Step 2 is to make minimum payments on all of your debts except for that debt with the highest interest rate. And then the third step is to pay as much as possible on your debt with the highest interest rate until it is completely paid off. Step 4 is to repeat that process until all your debts are paid in full. And I actually have a example here of a snowball avalanche calculator that we have available to folks who are enrolled in our personal finance course, the 30-day blueprint to successful money management. So I'm going to pull that up here and show you how it works. Okay, so here's the worksheet that is included with enrollment in the 30-day blueprint to successful money management. The very first thing we get all students to do is to fill in some basic goals. So you enter your age, when you want to retire, how many years you'd like to be debt-free, which is key for this example, as well as how big you want your emergency fund to be and when you want it saved up. So then we also teach you how to input everything you need to know about your debts. So in this example here, we said we wanted to be debt-free in 3 years. And on the net worth statement tab here, we have students enter the information about their debts. So in this example, let's say you had a car loan that had a $25,000 balance, had a 6% interest rate, and a minimum payment of $250. And let's say you also had a couple of credit cards, the $2,500 and $4,000 balance that had a 19.99% interest, $20 minimum payment, and 26% interest, and a $30 minimum payment. So the question becomes, if I want to be debt-free in 3 years, whether I'm using the avalanche or the snowball method, how much do I actually need to pay on each loan every month? And to answer that, we've created this debt repayment calculator that takes the information from the net worth statement, and you just simply pick your strategy. So we'll say we want the snowball method, and then we calculate our monthly payment. Still thinking, it takes a moment to crunch all of this numbers for you. This is math that would probably take you a long time to work out yourself, and it gets done within 10 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit and show you kind of what we're seeing here. So these are your 3 different loans you entered again with the balance, the interest rate, and the minimum payments. Now it's telling you how many months it'll take you to pay off each loan. Remember, your goal was to be debt-free in 3 years, which is 36 months. So using the snowball method, you start with the credit card 1, which had a $2,500 balance. Then you work your way to credit card 2, and as well as the car loan. And it tells you when you will have each loan paid off based on the current date that you start your goal, and the total interest you pay on each of those loans along the way. And we see here, if we were using the snowball method to pay off our debt in 3 years, we would pay $3,522 in interest in those 3 years. And we also provide you a schedule down below that shows you how much you are going to pay on each loan in each month. So in month one, we're paying $720 towards the credit card, and we're making the minimum payment on the other two, on the other credit card and the car loan until that credit card is paid off. And then we increase our payments onto the second credit card and minimum payment on the car loan until that is paid off. And then we're taking all that extra money and putting it all against the car loan until it is paid off 36 months later. So that is how the snowball method would work. If we wanted to pull that out and say, we're going to go highest interest rate, which is the avalanche method, we're going to use that. We're going to recalculate our monthly payment. So it might take a moment here for the spreadsheet to crunch all of the math, and we can see here now, boom, it's done. So in this order, the highest interest rate was credit card number 2, which had a 26% interest rate. So that is the first loan we're going to pay off. And again, showing you how much interest you'll pay on each and how much interest you'll pay in total using the avalanche method. And again, down here, you will get a schedule that shows you exactly how much to pay on each loan in each month to be debt-free in the time frame that you wanted. So a really cool calculator that kind of just takes all of the number crunching out of your hands. And that is available for anyone who decides to enroll in the 30-day blueprint to successful money management. So number 4 is adopting a simple investment strategy. With most things in life, the more effort, attention, and time you dedicate to something, the better your results are likely to be. You've probably heard it 1,000 times that practice makes perfect. If you want to be great at something, you need to dedicate yourself to mastering your craft. The exception to this rule is investing. If you're investing in the stock market, putting in more effort does not make you a good investor. In fact, focusing on trying to be a good investor and beating the market is probably going to hurt your investments in the long run. So if you accept the fact that the stock market is likely at least reasonably efficient, then we also must accept that picking and choosing stocks to try to outperform the stock market is a waste of time and money. So this is where having technical knowledge about finance and investing and knowing how the stock market works and all of these different ins and outs can actually hurt your finances. You don't need to be an expert on the stock market to be good at investing in the stock market. Simply accepting that the stock market is efficient and investing in low-cost index funds which track the entire stock market is a great way to ensure you have a successful investing outcome without having to know anything about finance. So whatever investment strategy you end up choosing, you also need to make sure that you are minimizing your investment risk through proper diversification. And there are 2 types of diversification. Diversifying by asset class, which means investing in multiple types of investments like stocks, bonds, and real estate. And diversifying by geography. And that means investing internationally for investing in stocks and bonds as well. Diversifying your investments is a smart and simple way to manage risk. One of the biggest risks that you're going to face, though, with your investments is behavioral risk. The risk that when the investments go down, you panic and sell at the bottom. The simplest way to avoid behavioral risk is to not check your portfolio balance. People who check in on their investments every single day and follow what's happening in the stock market and the news are more likely to make investment decisions based on what's happening today. And if this money is intended for decades from now, like something for retirement, then checking on your money today is going to have no impact really on what happens in the future. To become a successful investor, focus on diversification, minimize your risk, and minimize your investment fees. And don't worry about what's happening day to day in the market. If you want to increase your wealth, what you do need to focus on is finding ways to get more money to invest rather than worrying about becoming a great investor. Number 5 is creating a budget that locks in your goals. If there's one thing people hate more than tracking their spending, it's budgeting. I'm not a fan of traditional budget templates. Arbitrary rules like dedicating 10% of your income to saving don't resonate with people. This makes budgeting feel like a chore, and as a result, most people just avoid it. I prefer a looser approach to budgeting that focuses on your financial goals. If you're just getting started, 3 goals you want to consider are building an emergency fund, paying off debt, and saving for retirement. Once you figure out how much you need to set aside each month to accomplish these goals, you simply need to subtract that amount from your monthly take-home pay. And whatever is left over is how much you have left to spend for the rest of the month. To show you an example of a goals-based budget, I'm going to refer back to the worksheet that the students in the 30-Day Blueprint to Successful Money Management are given. So as I mentioned before, at the beginning of the course, students enter in some basic information and set their goals. They say what age they would like to retire, when they like to be debt-free, and when they would like to have their fully funded emergency fund. So we go through the expense tracking, the debt repayment we already covered. There is lots of lessons on retirement savings. By the end of the course, they get to their monthly budget. And this is how the goals-based budget really works. So they start with their monthly take-home pay. Then it's calculated how much they need to contribute towards their emergency fund each month to fund that emergency fund, how much they need to contribute towards their debt, and their retirement. So here's how much they need to each goal. So in this example, we had a $4,000 take-home pay, needed to contribute $980 to an emergency fund, $780 towards retirement, and $975 per month towards debt repayment. So all that is subtracted from your take-home pay. And what is left here is $1,264 in this hypothetical example. So after accounting for your 3 financial goals, this will tell you how much money you have left to spend in your budget, and then you simply just enter in the budget down here. That is an example of a goals-based budget, which the very first thing you're budgeting is your goals and you're spending what's left over. Here's the thing about a goals-based budget, and what many people struggle with is after they find out how much money they need to allocate towards their financial goals, they discover that there's not much money left over at the end of the month. In that previous example, there was only just over $1,000 left over after all 3 financial goals were accounted for. And clearly that is not enough to live on. So that's why the 6th thing you need to learn are the 2 levers of financial independence that will help tilt the numbers of your goal-based budget in your favor. So the 2 levers of financial independence are quite simple, which is saving more money and making more money. Saving more of the money you already have will require you to make some lifestyle sacrifices. And yeah, you could have, save a few bucks by cutting out a daily latte or things like that. But if you're serious about saving money, that means spending less money on your big 3 expenses of housing, transportation, and food. If you're unwilling to scale back your standard of living, then you need to find a way to make more money. And there are 3 ways to make more money. You can make more money per hour, work more hours, picking up a side hustle or something, or starting a business. The more you can increase your take-home pay, the higher the margin of error you give yourself within your budget. And we're going to go back to our goals-based budget really quick so I can show you 2 quick examples of how each lever of financial independence impacts their goals-based budget. Okay, so in the goals-based budget, remember we saw we only had $1,264 to work with after accounting for our 3 financial goals. But what if we wanted to pull the savings lever and reduce our big 3 spending? So if we just go back to our expense tracker, remember we had a car payment. Let's say we wanted to make the sacrifice where we're going to get rid of our car. And that means we no longer have a car payment, and maybe instead we have a $100 payment for transit, which would also be part of the big 3. So I'm just going to make that change here right now. And also, because we got rid of our car, that also means that we no longer have a car loan, and we no longer have that minimum payment on the car. So I'm going to get rid of that in the net worth statement. And then we're going to go over to the calculator, recalculate our debt repayment number, because we no longer now need to have a car loan payment. So that one change alone, we're going back to our monthly budget. Wow, that increased our budget substantially, because now we need less for our emergency fund because our living expenses have gone down by getting rid of the car. And the amount we need to contribute towards our debt dropped dramatically because we no longer have a car payment and we only have the credit cards to pay for. So that increased the budget to work with after our goals are accounted for from under $1,300 to over $2,200, a substantial increase. And now to show you as well what happens then too if we decided we're going to pick up a monthly side hustle that maybe clears an extra $1,200 per month. By doing that, we've also increased our monthly take-home pay, and now our budget to work with after accounting for our 3 financial goals is nearly $3,500. So we've nearly tripled the amount we have to work with after locking in our financial goals. So that is how the 2 levers of financial independence can really work to open up your goals-based budget. So like I said, guys, to be great with managing money, you don't need to be Warren Buffett or some financial expert. You just need to learn the 6 simple concepts we discuss in this video. Tracking your spending, building a strong emergency fund, paying off debt, adopting a simple investment strategy, taking a simple goals-based approach to budgeting, and then tilting the numbers in your favor through the 2 levers of financial independence. And I'll leave you with one final thought, which is that technical knowledge that we discussed in this video is only half the battle. To become great at managing your money, you also need the right money mindset to ensure you stick with your plan through good times and bad. So if you can learn these concepts and adopt the right mindset, nothing is stopping you from having a successful relationship with money. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and a subscribe to this channel. And please leave a comment of what you found most interesting. Which of these 6 concepts do you struggle with the most or will be most challenging for you to adopt? I'd love to hear that from you guys. And if there's any other topics you'd like me to discuss on this channel, leave that in the comments below, and we'll see you guys again next time.